What is up, everybody? Thanks for joining us here today. My name is Kenny White, and I'm joined by my friend Haley Cahill Tubert. We're pumped to deliver you some really cool stories and experience over this next hour. Thanks for joining us. I know this is an awesome way to kick off the end of our week and bring us into the long weekend. So thanks for being here with us. We didn't do a ton, but the students we have with us did some really cool work over the past 48 hours. And before we go ahead and introduce them, I really want to give them a huge shout out. Today, what we're going to be talking about, we reached out to 6 students and said, hey, we know you're awesome student leaders. We know you're involved in your chapter and your council. You want to be on this webinar with us? And we're not going to tell you what you need to do until 48 hours beforehand. And we understand you probably have finals going on and jobs and real lives and family things and just maybe a global pandemic happening too. And like, do you have enough time for this and throw this in your schedule? And they said, heck yeah. We want to build more relationships. We want to watch our chapters and councils grow. We want to bring more people into this awesome thing we call fraternity and sorority. They said, yeah, we're down for it. And so we said, all right, hold off. And then you can start your tasks and the things we're going to ask you to do 48 hours before. And they did an awesome job. And I am super proud and happy to host them today. So we're gonna go ahead here and introduce them. But before we do, I'd love to see a little drum roll, maybe a little emoji love for our students before we go ahead and introduce them and ask them to turn on their cameras. Wow, that is awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. So this is our list of students who decided to help out. We have Nina, Eric, Mary Grace, Nem, Luke, and Haley. Hey, and all of you, I'd love for you to go ahead and turn your cameras on, turn your microphone on. Nina, if you can kick us off and introduce yourself, that would be awesome.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nina Gregory. I am currently a senior now at Iowa State University. I am the president of the Phi chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, which falls under the National Panhellenic Council.
Hey, Eric, we can kick it to you and we can just go down the list.
Cool. My name is Eric Bayer. I'm the VP of Recruitment for Sacred Heart University's Interfraternity Council. Sacred Heart University is in Fairfield, Connecticut, for those of you that don't know where it is. I'm a proud founding father of Beta Theta Pi, and I also served as a VP of Recruitment for my own chapter. So I've been involved in recruitment since the very beginning of my chapter. So I hope to teach you guys some great things today and show you what I've learned over the past few years. Thank you for having me.
Hey guys, I'm Mary Grace. I am Panhellenic President for UNC Wilmington, and I am a senior graduating in December. So I'm excited to continue this role until I finish my college career.
What's good, you? And I'm past president of Alpha Fraternity Incorporated at the Ohio, and I'll also be graduating in December. So, just trying to do what I can till I get out.
Hey everyone, my name is Luke Scarano. I'm a member of Phi Gamma Delta at William & Mary, and I'm the president of the Interfraternity Council there. I want to thank you guys for having me, and I'm really excited to kick things off.
Hi, my name is Kaylee Fern. I'm also a senior. I go to the University of South Florida in Tampa, and I serve as the VP of Recruitment for the Panhellenic Council.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your introductions. I'm going to go ahead and move us on to show everyone what the tasks are that we asked you to tackle. So we asked these students to take on these 7 challenges. First, get on your social media, get on Instagram, whatever you prefer, and share your joining story, and then send a message to every non-Greek student who watches. Second, we asked them to send a message to anyone who follows the chapter or council social media account and just strike up a conversation. Third, we said reach out to professors or university staff and ask for referrals. Who are the students they know and they believe really embody the values in fraternity and sorority life and would make great members? And then do the same with student leaders on campus. Reach out to them and say, who do you know who would be a great member of our community? Then we said, find an incoming student, which might be a little bit challenging, but do a little digging and find an incoming student on social media and simply send them a welcome to campus message and engage them in conversation that way. Number 6, we said send a message to a non-Greek student who might be on your current prospect list, someone who might be interested in joining an organization on your campus. And finally, we said try to get a student organization, a non-Greek organization, to let you do an Instagram takeover on their account and share on their story the value of the fraternity and sorority experience and why you love it. So 7 tasks. We said, give it your best. Let's see what happens. We have lots of questions for them. We will be asking some questions and getting feedback from them over the next 50 or so minutes that we have together. And certainly we would love to hear some questions from anyone tuning in. And we'll have some time at the end to feature those as well. So I would love to kick it off by turning it over to Haley from South Florida. We know that you were pretty busy on Instagram, sending a lot of DMs and connecting with a lot of students. So tell us a little bit about that experience, what some of the success was, and how that went for you.
Yeah, thank you. So I sent about, I want to say 100 DMs to everyone from freshmen to current students, people who view our stories. And I got a lot of responses, about, I want to say like 50% like responded and the rest liked the message, but they all loved hearing from us. They loved knowing that we were there to answer their questions. We had a lot of them click on our website and go view our stuff. So I think that this is definitely something that we're going to continue to do. They really liked the feeling that we can connect with them one-on-one. So I think that we're going to continue to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we have a couple of images we can either show now or a little bit later of what some of your interactions looked like with those students through those DMs. If I remember correctly, you even included a link and some information with registering for recruitment on your campus. And that just looked like a great message. Do you think that you engaged with a lot of students who had a lot of questions for you about what that experience was like? Or do you think that a lot of the students were just really excited to receive some contact from you and we're already interested in the recruitment process on your campus?
I would say kind of half and half. We definitely had some who were like, oh, when's the date to register, and who asked more questions about our organizations and how they know what is best for them. And then we had some already registered, which was super exciting to hear. And then we just had some just thankful, I think, for the contact.
Perfect. I love that. Was anyone else a DM warrior over the last 48 hours and could shed some light on what that experience was like?
Not to call anybody out, but Eric, man, I would love for you to. I would love for you to speak. I know.
I was just getting ready to jump in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't want to toot my own horn over here or whatever, but I would consider that I was probably a Instagram DM warrior, and I didn't send 100. That's. I mean, I don't know if I could have done that. But I did send several. And I was skeptical at first. I was, especially in the fraternity community, and getting a random message from the IFC account. I thought putting myself in the shoes of a PNM or somebody that's coming into the university, I was like, would I see this as creepy? Would I be creeped out about this? Would I, how would I react to this? So I chose some careful wording and I made it as not creepy, not weird as possible. And I was actually very surprised with the results. I got a lot of great responses. Some people just kind of looked at the message and, left me unread, which is totally fine. I mean, that happens. But a bunch of other people actually responded and asked a lot of great questions. And I felt really good about that. I was able to answer a lot of people's questions and give them some info about what fraternity life is all about. And I just, overall, I think it was really cool to be able to do that. And I was really surprised at how well it went.
I would love to hear, you mentioned that it was a little bit challenging to find the right wording that felt right to you, that didn't feel creepy or invasive. I would love to hear a little bit about how you came up with the initial message that you would send. What was that message? I know we've got a picture we'll show in a second, but what felt like the most natural outreach for you that you felt like most of the students you messaged were pretty responsive to?
So initially, the first student that I DM'd, I sent something to the effect of, "Hey, welcome to Sacred Heart. Congratulations on being admitted. If you're interested in joining a fraternity or sorority, or obviously a fraternity because it's the IFC account, not a sorority. But if you're interested in joining a fraternity, let us know. Let us if you have any questions." And I didn't really get a response to that. Everybody kind of just, saw it and was like, "Oh, okay." Like I don't have to respond to them because they didn't, ask a specific question or anything like that. And then I thought about it for a second, and the second or third student that I DM'd, I actually asked them a question that time. I said, the whole like, "Hey, Joe, for example, welcome to Sacred Heart. Congrats on your admission to Sacred Heart. And if you're interested in joining a fraternity, let us know." So this way, they would respond and they say, "Yeah, I'm definitely interested." And then the follow up would be, "Do you have any questions for me? Is there anything that I can help you with? What do you want to know?" And I found that was much more effective at getting a conversation started versus just kind of sending an open ended, like, "Let us know if you have any questions," because you just don't get a response to that.
Yeah, absolutely. A much more active approach, right? I love that. We put your a screenshot of your post on here for some others to check out. And I know that we just dropped a link too with some great opening lines for that initial outreach, because that can be the most hard part, right? Figuring out what's some organic wording that sounds right to you and connecting with people in a really active way. So I'm super happy to hear that you found the message that worked for you and that students were responsive to. Absolutely. Kenny, what questions do you have?
Yeah, I would love to just learn more about how that initial outreach went for everybody, how it kind of felt, if people felt similar to Eric, and oh, maybe this is a little weird, a little awkward. I haven't done it before. Hey, Nina, can I call on you to talk a little bit about how you felt about that initial outreach and what it looked like for you?
Yeah, for sure. For me, I decided to go about it a little differently. I know for my organization, we have to be really careful about things not feeling like outright recruiting, that we're going out and blatantly asking members to be a part of our chapters or things like that. And so I kind of had to wait for the other way around, for someone to kind of reach out to me, and then we can open up the door a little bit to have that conversation about what makes you interested in our organization, what makes you want to be a part of something like this. So over the 48 hours, it was kind of difficult to get people to reach out to me. But I did have, prior to this webinar, to this experience, have people reach out to me. And so to be able to say, "Hey, social media is not really how we go about it, but I would love to have a phone conversation with you. Since we're in a pandemic, like we can't really sit down for coffee, but something that's a little less, I don't want to use the word traceable, but something that seems a little more personal, to say, like, what questions do you have? I can't answer everything, but I can tell you kind of what we stand for. I can tell you things that you can find on our national website, like things like that." So that's kind of how I went about it. Is I did share my joining story, but just waiting for people to reach out to me and then being able to have that initial conversation.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I really like the point that you hit on about, let's pick up the phone and let's talk to each other. Maybe we can't meet for coffee in person, but let's have a real conversation. Maybe the first message is a text message, but from there, let's sit down, talk about the experience. Let's build that relationship. And I think that's really what this came down to is, hey, we're not trying to recruit you to join, or we're not asking you to join right now. We're just going to say, let's get to know you. Let's build a relationship. Let's become friends. Let's learn a little bit more about you. Let's talk about campus life. And so I like that phone call piece that you brought up for sure.
What about some other challenges? I know we all had a few minutes to connect before hitting go on air for this, but we gave you all 48 hours to tackle a lot of tasks. And so I would love to hear, maybe, let's see, maybe Mary Grace, can you share what some of the challenges were for you and us saying, here's 7 challenges, go, we'll see you Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. What were some of the things that were most difficult to navigate for you?
Yeah, definitely the time was very difficult. Luckily, I had my exec team helping me, and they did phenomenal. I'm so appreciative of them helping me get through these challenges. But also from the task, receiving feedback from faculty and staff and other student leaders not in Greek organizations, they didn't really respond back to our messages. So that was kind of difficult for us to get on their social media platforms or get a list of referrals from them. We didn't really have feedback from that.
Quick show of hands from my participants here. Did anyone else have the same experience? Was it challenging to get professors or university staff, other students to send a list of referrals your way? Yeah, I'm seeing some head nods. Yeah, okay, that's good to know. Luke, what about you? What were some of the challenges for you in tackling these tasks?
So similar, one of my big challenges was the time frame that we had to do this, because I'm trying to represent a council and I'm working with, people in the administration and, my executive board, and not everyone was on the same timeline. We pushed a lot of things to next week, but I'm still hopeful because it's next week. But the thing that was really the biggest obstacle for me to get through was on my campus, I also have a directorate role in our orientation program. So I have to be really careful with the way I reach out to incoming students. So that was an interesting thing to try and navigate with my advisor from first year experience, as well as some guys on my council that were willing to help me out when it comes to reaching out to them. So that was another thing I had to navigate, and I'm sure other people are in kind of a similar role. But
I love what you said, that, that's okay. We pushed a little bit to next week because absolutely, this wasn't just for 48 hours and we say, how'd it go? Okay, great. Well, see you in a few months. I'm really happy to hear you said, okay, well, let's tackle what we can now and let's tackle the rest next week and the week after. So I appreciate you sharing that. Okay, so it sounds like time was a little bit of a challenge. A couple of the tasks specifically were maybe a little bit challenging. What about parts that were super doable? The things that you said, oh yeah, I can knock that out first. That's not a problem. Maybe things that you've been doing regularly. I'll kick it over to you, Nim. We haven't heard from you yet. I would love to hear, what were the things on that list that you thought, yeah, that's pretty doable, or that's stuff that we do regularly, or hey, I haven't tried that, but yeah, I'll give that a shot and tackle that first.
Yeah. One big thing, kind of as mentioned before, with NPHC, it's not really a recruiting thing, and so that was kind of difficulty. But one cool thing was you got asking student lead nature, and one of the positives I think about the NPHC is that we look to have those members as the people in our org, like those people that we're looking to hopefully join things of that nature. So kind of for me to ask student leaders as people in my fraternity, or like people that I'm really close to already. So I think that was easy just because we had those people in our org. And then I think also one big thing is to be able to be approachable, especially with NPHC. I know it's like there's kind of like a standoffish stigma that we have, and so just making sure you're available, especially now with this pandemic, but even more so when we're in person back on campus, hopefully, being able to be approachable so that since we aren't necessarily reaching out as much, that people are still confident to come up to us.
I love that you just shared to be more approachable. I think that's so applicable to all of us, no matter what campus we're on, council we're in, chapter we're part of, being more approachable and, being proactive. I think I think that's so important. I'm so glad that you said that. Haley, what are some of your thoughts on being more approachable this fall? Is that a conversation that you've had with some of your leaders and some people in your community about what that could look like to be more approachable as times are kind of changing right now?
Yeah, we're definitely working on ways that we can connect more with PNMs. And I know that we're working on redoing some of our documents that kind of prevent conversations between active members and PNMs, because with Panhellenic, there's so many rules on not being able to kind of reach out. So we're really working to kind of take those walls down, because we do realize how important it is, especially with all the changes that are going to probably have to come for primary recruitment. We're really working to kind of reach out to the PNMs more and let them know that we're there for them no matter what organization they join, or maybe even if they don't join, we're still going to be there for them.
Absolutely. Positive Panhellenic contact. That's a great thing. Mm-hmm. Kenny, do you have a question?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd love, Luke, man, if you want to answer this for me, I'd love to hear, you talked about not being able to do a ton in the 48 hours, totally understandable, but kicking a lot to next week. What's the biggest takeaway from this for you? What are the things that you're going to take away and say, all right, we're making this a part of our plan moving forward so we can build more relationships?
Well, for me, what I really want to take away from this is being able to reach out and form relationships early. And then the focus this week for us was trying to grow our social media, because with one of the tasks I noticed, it said to DM people who followed us who weren't a part of fraternity and sorority life. And everyone who follows us is a part of fraternity and sorority life. So a big part of what we're trying to do right now is grow the account so that when we put out content, we can get those views and put out information to parties who would be interested in this stuff. So one thing that I did that hasn't quite come to fruition yet, but I'm really looking forward to, is we have posts prepared for each class Facebook page for our school. So class of 2024, 2023, 2022, and 2021, to blast our social media, as well as get people to come and contact us with questions. And if they interact with the page, we can contact them. So that would put out to 6,000 students. And that's something I'm really hoping will come, because I'm just waiting on the gatekeepers of those Facebook pages to let me put it on there. But it's going to be, I'm really hoping it's going to be big.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that, Luke. Hey, I think that's a common thing that we see a lot, whether it's a chapter account or a council account. Hey, these members who follow us, we already know they're members of our organization and they're members of other fraternities and sororities. So I'd love to do a quick show of hands. Did anybody else see that when you were maybe logging into your Instagram account? See that a lot of the individuals who followed you were already members of fraternities or sororities? Yeah, definitely a little bit, maybe some, maybe not. Hey, I'd love to hear, Nina, what other strategies do you maybe have to build that social media presence, to build on what Luke said?
I think one of the things that my chapter really tries to do, and just across the councils, is making our Instagram approachable, but also on our personal pages, making sure that we're promoting the things that are on our council page or on our personal chapter pages, so that that content is the same across the board, so people can see that we don't just post our own chapter or posting other chapters' events to show that we're supportive of each other, to kind of increase that whole community feel. So that is probably one of the best things I would say to do. I think that has really enhanced the people who see our social media post, who decide to friend us on Snapchat or follow us on Instagram or come to our events, is because they maybe didn't see it on our chapters page, but they saw it on our personal page, or they saw it on somebody they know, their personal page. And so being able to reach out to all of those members or all of those potential members without them necessarily following you from the beginning.
Yeah, I love that point. Using your chapter members to use their platforms and their voices to be able to spread that. I think that brings me into another question that I had is, you're not alone in this, right? And we can't do this alone. You all as individuals, whether it's for your chapter, your council, Like we need a team. We need other people to help out, other people we can rely on and count on. And I know over even these past 48 hours, some of you reached out to your team and said, hey, can you help me with this? And so Mary Grace, I'd love to call on you because I know this is something that you definitely did. Could you talk to us about that experience of how your team showed up for you and how you can even continue to build on that moving forward?
So when I got the phone call that we were doing this challenge, and I was so excited, but I also was like, wow, I am super busy this week. So to be able to do my normal schedule plus this challenge was going to be a challenge in itself. So immediately I called on my exec team and I asked if anyone was free, if anyone wanted to help out. And I had 2 or 3 that were like, me, definitely. And they did so much more, like way more than I could have asked for. And we were able to do the task. We were able to meet or make those relationships with potential new members coming in the fall.
Mary Grace, did you all find that you already have a lot of potential new members coming in, follow you on social media? Was that kind of like what you found, or did you go out and do a little sleuthing and find them?
We actually have like a UNCW 2024 page that was kind of mentioned earlier a few minutes ago. And so we have been, since that page was created, we've been going through, and from our council page, we follow all of the women, no matter what. We follow them, and if they follow back, great. Most of them did. And so that is where we turned to find people to message.
I love that. And you all did some pretty great posts on your story too. Would you mind? You know what I'm going to ask? You sent us a beautiful, wonderful, heartfelt video. One of the tasks we asked students to tackle was get on social media, probably get on Instagram and head to the stories and share your joining story. And as soon as I watched your video, my heart smiled because you were just so casual. You said, hey guys, hopping on here to share my joining story with you. And I just thought that was impactful. If you don't mind, I would love to share it. It's a short video. So if I can get a head nod from you, we will try to pull that up. If possible, if we can get that pulled up. Let's see. Here we go.
And I just wanted to hop on here and share with you on my joining story from when I went through recruitment as a freshman in the fall of 2016. I always wanted to be a sorority woman. I wanted to find my forever best friends, my future bridesmaids, all of those cliche things that you think of when you think of what being a sorority woman means. Luckily, I found that, but I also found so much more, like a community of 800 plus women who wanted nothing but the best for me and for me to grow into the best version of myself. I remember going through recruitment that weekend and being in awe that these women, they just wanted me to join their community. It didn't matter which chapter I joined. However, I knew that I found my home away from home when I cried during their entire preference ceremony. And then running home on bid day, I just knew, I felt this overflowing happy emotion that I was where I was supposed to be. And now here I am, Panhellenic president, helping to lead this community and continue to receive new members each year. That's my short version of how I joined this community. But if you guys have any questions, please feel free to DM us or look on our website, uncwpanhellenic.com, to find out more information on all of our chapters. I hope you guys are doing well and staying safe. I hope to see you guys soon.
Love it. And then the really great outreach after that, if we can pull those slides back up, you all did a great job of reaching out to students who watched the video. So I love that you didn't just post it, but then you went ahead and said, all right, let's connect with them. So let me see if I can find this one. I loved this one. The message was simply, hey, we noticed you watched our video about Mary Grace joining our community. What questions do you have about fraternity and sorority life here? And then, a conversation followed. And that was just one example of several that you sent my way. And I loved that. I loved that twofold approach of let's post something to the story to engage with people, and then let's just contact them and say, hey, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. So I would love to know, did anybody else hop on their story? And I know we heard from a couple, but anybody that we haven't heard from have a similar experience of sharing a joining story or the way you came into your community? No friends? Did I hear somebody speak up?
Yeah, well, that's me. I didn't do it, but I know somebody who did. So I know both. I think Eric and Haley both did. So I'd love to hear from both of them. But hey, Haley, I know there's another video attached with this, so let's start with you. I'd love to hear. You're like, I don't want to just tell my story. I want to tell everybody's story. And so that was really cool, and I love to hear how that was and the level of engagement you had from it.
That was actually one of my favorite tasks. When I immediately read that one, I knew that I didn't want to just share my story because, you know, that's one person, but I wanted to give everyone the opportunity to share their story because obviously we all kind of join Panhellenic in different ways. So I wanted to make sure that, like, it wasn't just me and my board sharing our stories, but we could give it to the whole community. So we put like a question box on our Instagram, and then we kind of tagged all the chapters and the members who spoke up. Unfortunately, mine's not tagged. I'm disaffiliated at the moment, so I couldn't really have my name, but mine says just Panhellenic. So we put it up, and I think we had all 10 chapters participate, and I know that the PNMs really like to see that. So
I love that. Yeah, here's a couple of the responses.
That's awesome. And I think maybe we got a screenshot of some follow up from that too. Can we show that? And I'd love to hear just about maybe some of the follow up you did from that and how that was. What was that experience like for you?
So we found it kind of similar to just people who followed us. We sent a very similar message. We kind of thanked them for watching our story and asked them if they had any questions. And it went pretty similarly. Some had questions, some just were like, yeah, I'd love to see it. But I definitely think that by reaching out after they had watched the story, it was kind of helpful because we were able to sometimes have a conversation about why to join or how to know your chapter.
Yeah, I love that. And I think before we talked about being approachable, I think this is one really cool way we could do that. I think when we send a personalized message, it helps put a face to these really big words or these really cool videos that we throw out there and say, hey, I'm a person just trying to build a relationship with you and help you have an awesome experience. And so I'm glad that you all found that direct messaging after showing that video to be pretty helpful. Eric, man, I know you did something similar, maybe not a video, but you posted your joining story, and I'd love to hear what the follow up from that was like.
Yeah, so I decided not. I'm not a video guy. I mean, even though I'm on a video right now, but I guess that's. But anyway, so I did a picture of myself and posted it on our IFC Instagram, and we had our public relations VP post it with just some information about me and how I'm the VP of recruitment and I'm a point person that you can ask questions about fraternity life and how recruitment works. And then he put my joining story right underneath it. So it was a direct quote from me. And I talked about, how I got involved in fraternity life and how I had no idea what it was until I came to campus and learned more about it. And here I am, a founding father. I was the VP of recruitment for my chapter, and now I'm the VP of recruitment for IFC. So it's really cool to be able to build that bridge between the potential new members, the incoming students, and the active members and the fraternity community. And be able to bring more people into it and show them how awesome it really is. So that's how I did mine. I did it a little differently. I cheated a little bit, no video, but I think it was just as effective.
Hey, I've got a question. I thought looking at that list, the most challenging one, if I were tackling that list, was the last one that said, ask another organization if you can do an Instagram takeover, hop on their story. Can I just get a show of hands? Were any of you successful in tackling that one? Did you give that one a try? Did you do some outreach? No friends? That's okay. I appreciate your honesty. Okay, that's all right. But what I would like to know is, as we're thinking through some groups that you could potentially partner with on campus to say, hey, we're trying to, grow the pool of people that we are engaging with and building relationships with, can we do a little partnership here? Can we talk a little bit about our community on your Instagram and maybe vice versa, do some partnerships like that? I would love to get some of your initial thoughts on who some groups would be on campus that you could see some sort of partnership like that happening, whether it's an intramural group or, I don't know, SGA or something like that. I would love to hear from each of you some of your initial thoughts. So let's see. Nina, I haven't heard from you in a few minutes. Do you have any thoughts on some groups on campus that you could see yourself reaching out to and kind of starting up a partnership like that?
Yeah, definitely. So I thought about it kind of later than I should have, but I know that one of the things that I was really considering are like, who do we volunteer with? And kind of mixing those things. So who do we do our community service with? And I know our chapter, we do a lot of community service with Habitat for Humanity. So reaching out to them and saying, hey, we want to bring this big group of people to come and participate in this. Would it be okay if we also posted about it on your social media, and just kind of using those pre-existing relationships to grow our community, basically?
I love that. I think that's a great idea. If it's okay with you all, I'd like to hear from a few more of you just on some of your thoughts about an initial partnership you could do with another group. So let's see. I'll kick it over to you, Nim. Do you have any ideas on some groups that you could partner with?
Yeah. So like on campus, easily like Black Student Association, student government, African Youth League. But I think one of the major pieces that makes it possible for these things to happen is that if you have student leaders that are in these orgs already or have connections to these orgs, it makes it that much easier. And so that's kind of why I feel like for all these orgs, I think one big thing is to have student leaders, so that, like I said, with the question about asking other people, you already have those people in your corner. And so we've been able to do collabs with a lot of different organizations, just because we've had people that were former presidents, former e-board members, and stay connected like that. And that puts you in front of more people. And then, like I said before, it allows you to be approachable because you have those connections. Also, one big thing I like that we do at Ohio State is there's a program where all the Black male freshmen come in. And so being able to be an ambassador for that and kind of being able to talk to them about just Greek life in general, not necessarily like about my chapter or about where they need to go, but just being able to give them that baseline to understand what it looks like, what that is for college, and the right ways to approach it. That's a big thing that is needed at any school. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love everything you just said. Use your people, right? Most of us have members in our organizations who are part of tons of other things as well. And sometimes we don't fully utilize them like we could and kind of let them shine in some of the other roles that they have on campus. So I love that you shared that. Absolutely. Let's hear from one more. How about you, Eric? What do you think? Any initial thoughts on that one?
So we actually do a lot of this stuff already, partnering with, I mean, not necessarily Instagram takeovers per se, but there is a lot of overlap between Greek life organizations and other on-campus organizations. Sacred Heart, I think, is unique a little bit in that we have a very big emphasis on service. Nearly every single club on campus and organization does service. We have like some ridiculous amount of community service hours every single year. So we really like partnering with other organizations and doing all kinds of different service projects. And we are constantly supporting other organizations' philanthropies. We're supporting, for example, Habitat for Humanity. We're also doing other, sorority and fraternity organizations. So, for example, one of the sororities has Ronald McDonald House. We do organization stuff for that. So we form those relationships through philanthropy. I think it's a really good vehicle for forming a relationship with anybody. Any organization is sharing that philanthropy experience, even if it's just something as simple as like going to a food pantry or a food drive or organizing something together, creates that line of communication and that relationship. And down the road, you can call in that favor and say, hey, listen, I know we did a philanthropy event or a philanthropy project together. Would you mind us, coming into one of your meetings and just talking about Greek life? Or would you mind us, posting something on your story, say like, follow Shoe IFC. They're a really great organization, and we can support each other and do all those things. So I think that, like I said, Philanthropy is a really good sort of olive branch, so to speak, to create that line of communication between your organization and other organizations, regardless of whether they're Greek or not.
I think that's a great suggestion and something that we're all doing anyway, right? I know that we have some questions coming in. This is a good chance for me to remind anybody tuning in, if you have questions for our students, if you are a student and have a question on how to do one of these tasks on your campus, or you want to learn more about their experiences, or just a question about kind of how they're navigating life and membership right now, feel free to add those questions. I believe there's a question box at the top of the any meeting link. So feel free to throw those in. And I think we have a couple that we're going to pull up for you all to give some answers to. So here's our first question. There was a lot of mention of Instagram. Are there other social platforms that you're using or planning to use to market your chapter this year and or do recruitment? I'm going to kick this question over to Mary Grace. What do you think? Other social platforms you're using to market your chapter this year, or to do recruitment, or platforms that you're even considering using?
So Instagram is our most active for sure. We just launched our website, which isn't necessarily a social platform. We have used Facebook in the past. It's not as popular now, but actually we did make a TikTok. So UNCW Panhellenic has a TikTok account where we are planning to this summer just have chapters like make videos and send them in, and we'll post them to just talk about what incoming students can look forward to joining Greek life in the future or in the fall.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me hear from one more. Nina, what do you think? Any social platforms that your council is thinking about using, or you could see using in the coming months?
Kind of. So we do use Instagram. We have Facebook pages. I think the TikTok thing is a pretty good idea to try and get members involved and to get them to do something out of their comfort zone. I know I alluded to it earlier. We more so use social media to just share what we're doing, not so much to have like conversations about those things. So I think it would be interesting to see how we can adapt the way in which we use social media to grow our membership.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think we've got another question here. Josh says, I'd love to hear these students go around and share their results by saying the number of new conversations that came from the challenge. So the number of new conversations that you started, or a ballpark figure based on the challenge. So let's start with Luke.
So I know the results I got by this Friday weren't the ones I wanted. I probably only started about 25 to 30 new ones, but I'm hoping once I get stuff going on in the class Facebook pages, I'll be able to get to over 100, maybe up to 200, because that is sort of around the number we look to for a normal fall recruitment.
Okay, I will kick it over to Haley.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I was able to get about 100, but we also kind of, me and like my marketing team, we kind of agreed that like this is every new PNM who follows our Instagram, we're gonna shoot them a message, just kind of say hi, let them know we're there. I think we're planning on going through the rest of our like follows and making sure we've messaged everyone just so everyone feels like they're getting equal treatment.
Love it. Nem, how about you?
My bad. I don't really understand this question.
How many like
are they
if you engaged in conversations with people, how many of those conversations kind of came from the challenge?
Oh, I got too many, so I'll say probably like 4 to 5, like in the 48 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see, who haven't we heard from? Mary Grace.
We reached out to probably 60 women, and I would say we heard back from over half of them. So maybe 30 to 40 probably would be our number.
Love it. Very cool. Let's see, Eric.
Yeah, so we're actually at Sacred Heart. We're lucky enough to have a really good relationship with our admissions office and our admissions team. So right on time, actually, right after this challenge was introduced to me, we got a list of 200 new incoming freshmen that expressed interest in Greek life. So what we did was me and one other member of IFC, we each logged into the IFC Instagram and followed all 200 of these incoming freshmen. And as they followed back, we just kind of randomly, scrolled through the list of people that followed us back and hit a random name and just decided to DM them and say hi. Them a message, asked them if they were interested in fraternity life, and asked them if they had any questions. And out of those, we DM'd about 10 people so far. We're still waiting on people to follow us back. And we've gotten about 7 responses. So, obviously smaller numbers, but we're working slowly, and we're making sure that we give everybody the attention that they need, because a lot of these people are actually asking a lot of questions, which is awesome. Usually we find that people are a little timid at first to ask questions, but I was surprised. We're getting a lot of awesome questions. So.
Hey, I love that. And I think one of my takeaways from the day is have a good relationship with the admissions office, right? That sounds like that was a really great timing for them to send that over to you, and really beneficial for sure. Let's see. Okay, Nina, we want to hear from you too.
I would say, like I said earlier, it's a little difficult for me to have conversations the other way. So it's more of like waiting for people to reach out to me. In terms of new conversations, I would say that I had like 2 or 3. But I think I did post a picture about just like some of the small reasons why I joined my organization. And that prompted some more conversations that I just haven't had the chance to respond to. So probably like 4 or 5.
Yeah, I love that. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, about what that post looked like for anybody who hasn't seen it, and what some of the outreach was from people who wanted to connect with you about that?
Yeah. So I posted a picture actually from this past AFLV conference that I took with a bunch of other sorors while we were there. We all had a big group me conversation, and we decided to meet up in front of this picture. It was like on the last night. We were all very dressed up. It's a really cute picture if you ever get the chance to see it. And basically, I was just talking about what attracted me to my organization, as far as like being surrounded by like-minded women who always want what's best for me, no matter where I go. Because we are an international organization, it's so easy to always find sorors who have your best interest at heart. And I would say some of the feedback that I got from that mostly came from people who are already members, but I had a few people reach out just to ask me questions about it and to say like, well, what outside of those things made you want to join? And again, they get kind of the same response of, let's have a phone conversation. Let's take this outside of social media to give it more of a personal feel.
I love that. Phone calls. Man, we need to bring those back, right? Some more personal communication is a great thing. Hey, you said something that I was just curious if others are trying this, or what they would think about trying this. I think there is a great deal of value in connecting with students from other campuses, other chapters, other councils, even. Just by a head nod, do any of you work closely, or have any of you had experience with reaching out to chapters on other campuses? Maybe they are of the same chapter that you belong to, or another council. Have you had experience? Yeah, I'm seeing most of you nod your head. Yeah, let's see. Nim, can I hear from you just about what your experience has been like connecting with others just outside of your campus or your council or whatever that outreach looked like?
Yeah. Actually, it's cool that you asked that, because yesterday, we're real close with a Pi chapter. There's a chapter office in Cleveland. They just had their neos. They were able to come out on Instagram. Like, people can't really have shows right now, so they just had their neos come out. So shout out to them. But like a lot of the chapters in the Midwest, we have connections to, just because, kind of like Nina was saying, with I think with MPHC, especially from my experience at least, there's a big connectedness in knowing that okay, you're in my org, and then especially when you get out of college, there's a connectedness knowing okay, you're also MPHC, and so for me, I've been to an airport in Dallas, and I feel like looked out for me and paid for my meal just because he saw like I had the keychain lanyard, things like that. People like reach out for your number. Like usually when I travel, I don't pay for hotels anymore. Like there's always someone. Like I may have never met them, but they'll allow me to stay where they're at. And I think those are like the stories that I always like enjoy telling people when they kind of ask like what are the benefits. And it's like a benefit that I didn't think about that at all when I came into it. But yeah, we're connected like Columbus. There's a citywide chapter in Columbus, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Michigan. We're like, yeah, we're connected. Alpha's like, I think we do a really good job of staying connected with chapters in that area and stuff. So.
I love that. That's an awesome story. I think we have time to hear from maybe one more, and then I think Kenny's got a little bit of information. Oh no, it looks like Kenny might have left us, so Kenny might not have any more information. I don't know, but
Can you hear me?
You're here. Okay, we can hear you. It might just be my computer. I can't see you.
Nope,
but
I can't see myself either. I don't know what's going on, but I'm here.
Okay, great. Well, I'm going to kick it over to you in just a second, but I would love to hear from just one more. Let's see. Haley, do you want to wrap us up? I thought I saw your head nod when I asked that question. Any experience you want to share with everyone about connecting with other chapters, other campuses, etc.?
Yeah, so I also went to AFLV this past year, so I am in a group chat with, I want to say like 50 VPRs from all across the nation, which is really cool. We all like to use that chat when we have questions, especially with all like the new MPC reports coming out. And then I'm also in another group chat with the Florida VPRs because we find we all have very similar issues, especially since we're so close and people like to compare our schools anyway. So we like to kind of lean on each other, ask questions. I've been really working to change some of the things that we've done in the past. So I worked really closely with the FSU VPR. I kind of reached out and saw how they did like their lists and all that type of stuff. And so I find it really helpful to be able to ask questions, especially since like we're all dealing with the same problems.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. We've got a couple of minutes left. I think we're going to bring our slides back up with just a couple additional pieces of information to wrap us up. I think Kenny has some fun insight to share, and I'll just flip through a couple of these images. We asked everyone to send us anything that they had that they wanted to share about their experiences, some of the things they shared or posted or conversations they had. Many of these we've shared over the last 50 or so minutes that we've had together. So some of these should look familiar, but I'll just do a quick run through. We have some screenshots here of a little bit of a progression of a conversation, which I think is super fun to see how these conversations develop. Love it. Absolutely love it. All right. Kenny, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Sorry about that. I do not know what is going on. But I just want to say thank you to everybody. Thank you for everybody joining us on this today. Thanks, Haley, for co-hosting this with me. And then thanks to all the students. This is a weird time. Finals are happening, work's happening. And so you saying, hey, yeah, we're going to take on a 48-hour growth challenge and we're going to do it, even if it might be a little bit uncomfortable. Shout out to you all. Kudos to you all. This was awesome. And I'm glad there were some really cool things that you were able to take away from it. And I know that you're going to be able to do some really great things moving forward with this as an awesome framework. And so because of that, we want to give you a little bit of a gift, not a big gift. So Phired Up has some digital classrooms, and we're going to give each of you an access code for those digital classrooms so you can get some really cool content about how do we build relationships, how do we grow our organizations, some really cool skills. There's some videos in there. There's some video links in there, some resources, some articles, some tangible examples. So after this, you all, the people who are on here with us, you're going to see a access code in your email. And we'd love to talk to you more about it. But we just wanted to give you that as a gift to let you know that we appreciate you being here and appreciate you taking on that 48 hours really head on.
Absolutely. I will just mirror everything Kenny just said. Thank you so much for just stepping up and being the leaders that you are and being willing to say, yeah, we'll give that a go. I think that was pretty much the reaction that I got from all of you that I connected with. You were like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And so I appreciate that. I appreciate your willingness and just excited to see how your communities continue to grow over the next several months. So last thing here that we wanted to share, we are not done with Phired Up Fridays. I hope all of you that are with us today will tune in. Next Friday, we've got Empty Beds, Recruitment in Fall 2020. This will be a special conversation involving housing corporations, and I believe this will be led by our very own Josh Arendi. So tune in next Friday. You've got the link there at the bottom. Be sure to save that. And I want to thank each of you for tuning in today, and we'll see you soon.